Good morning, everybody. We made it to Friday. Whew. That was a close one. I didn't know if we were going to. As you can tell, I moved the show. Our normal show time is 9 a.m. Central. And I don't normally stream trials or anything like that. I did say that if Alex Murdaugh takes the stand in his own defense, then I would do a watch party. So we did half a day yesterday. Today, he's going to be back on the stand. So I can't be in two places at once, even though I try. So I moved this show to earlier so we can have a watch party there. So hopefully people start getting their notifications. Hello, Kiki. Today, a little birdie told me a secret. So it's just between us. But I was told that today is our friend Jeannie's birthday. Happy birthday, my dear friend. Jeannie and I go way back. Happy birthday to you, Jeannie. What are you going to do with your day to yourself? Are you going to spoil yourself? Nufflin made it in. I see Slim made it in. Hello, Jamie Lunas. Snazzy made it in. All right, notifications work for some people, huh? Hello, Dolores. Hello, Tiffany. Tiffany said, y'all, it's cold in Dallas. We wear flip-flops, not socks. For real. I've had it with this sock shit. It was like 82 degrees here on Wednesday. Yesterday, I'd say lower 70s. This morning, like in the 40s. This type of weather gives OJ arthritis. OJ can barely get his head off the pillow. I can't do it. Good morning, Jinbug. TGIF to you. Amanda brought cake. Hello, Spicy Sugar. So anyway, the reason, like I said, that the show is at, 7:15 as opposed to 9 o'clock is because we're also having a watch party when this is over for Crazy Alex Murdaugh. It's crazy. All right. Another important matter we need to discuss. No Pants Bob put on Facebook today and on his channel. I say no pants Bob because he only wears shorts. He lives in Florida. Today is National Tortilla Chip Day. That's an easy one for me. I told Bob every day is National Tortilla Chip Day for me. I love my queso. I love my salsa. But in case you don't keep tortilla chips handy, like me, everywhere around your house, today's the day to celebrate National Tortilla Chip Day. All right, let's get to it. Sources are still speaking. They're still speaking. This time we have a reporter again from People Magazine. Now, this guy is a renowned journalist, if you really want to know the truth, even though he reports for that rag. He has a lot of awards. He's not known to be a shitster, if you know what I mean. Some people are saying he's lying. I don't get it. I don't get it. He's not the type. He doesn't need to make stuff up. But anyway, if he is, he is. We'll figure that out later as we go along. But anyway, more sources without names and faces came out with something very interesting, though. A source told him, which could only be law enforcement, unless he's just lying out his ass, that one of the female victims, Bushy, had her pictures, more than one, I'm assuming came from Instagram. All the girls love the Instagram, on his phone. Whose picture do you think he had on his phone? He said only one, of the girls. Good morning, Tanya. Hello, Gaelic. Hi, Chloe. Who do you think it could be? My guess is Maddie. We already heard that even though the owner says he did not eat in her restaurant, she's like, God forbid, no, he never ate here. Go bother the corner club again. Leave me alone. Get Brian Inton out of my driveway. She's like, hell no, he didn't eat here. Other people said, yeah, he did. Yes, he did. Even went as far as to say this is what he ordered. Not just one, but a few people. All right, so as we know, Madison worked at the Mad Greek. He went to Madison's room directly. Madison was the first victim. Then it turns out he was liking all her pictures on Instagram. Now, there's also a spoof account that looks just like Bushy's. It had to be pointed out to me how you can tell the difference. The date is very important, by the way. That was also liking Kaylee's pictures. But the true Bushy account, it appears, was trolling Madison. So I've been going through Maddie's Instagram. I can't see where he liked anything, but by this point, like 1,000,000 people are liking her pictures. Hell, Jennifer Coffindaffer is liking the victim's pictures. When I saw that, I had ugly tears coming down my face. I was laughing so hard. I'm like, are you serious? You are retired FBI and you're liking victims' pictures. As they're going through social media, they have to look at who all these people are and sort out these accounts to see if the murderer was involved with them on social media. That Jacoff, that little rascal, she just gave them more work to do. Imagine the looks on their faces when they're going through and they're going, nope, 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 nope. Jennifer Coffindaffer, what the F? Yeah, you can see it. Freaking idiot. I can't believe she did that. Good Lord. She knows that they have to go through all of the social media. And there she is liking pictures. It's a wonder she didn't tag herself in them. Such a weirdo. All right, let's get to the comments. Now, these are going to be comments from our members show we did on Wednesday morning. I'm going to address a few of those comments and from the show we did on Tuesday. So here we go. All right, this is in response to the show from Wednesday. We were talking about how there's one TV in the jail, and Beigefield says they might want to watch Dr. Phil. They may not all want to watch the news. Well, Fine Art on Fire picked up on that, and Fine Art on Fire said that's incorrect about watching the TV in jail. Everyone doesn't agree on what to watch. The toughest son of a bitch in the jail gets to decide, and everyone else can eat shit. That's how I've always seen it. I've been in a few slammers myself. That makes more sense than Beigefield saying, raise your hand for the news or raise your hand for Dr. Phil. It doesn't seem like they have the same kind of survivor island in the jail that she seems to think it is. Makes more sense the way Fine Art on Fire described it. Like I said on Wednesday, I don't think the dudes in the jail are all about self-help right now. They don't want to watch Dr. Phil and then watch him at the end of the show bring Robin up to talk about her new skincare when you can tell she has a face full of fillers. No. J. Lord was on fire. J. Lord left a lot of comments. Great comments. Jay Lord said, I agree these young women should be protected. The way he tainted the sweet love story between Xana and Ethan makes me sick. This is in response to Justin, the guy in Chicago who says it's his duty to speak on Dylan's behalf, and that he speaks to Dylan and that he would produce Dylan. I believe it was supposed to be Wednesday or Thursday night. Well, we know that didn't happen. Dylan has had since November 13th to tell Dylan's story. Dylan is saving it for the trial, it seems. But this Justin dude decided to make an all-out mess. A nasty, gross, messy mess. Jay Lord went on to say, don't people realize we could care less about the announcements of their sexual orientation or their surgeries or anything like that? This is where it's at for me. Idaho also had a point talking about Justin that said, I think Justin is doing his own look at me coming out. He keeps saying he wants to have a conversation and no one wants to have a conversation with him. Well, that's not the way to start a conversation with people. You don't make up lies about a witness in a high-profile case being transgender. On top of that, being beaten to a pulp. You honestly believe that I know you guys don't, that if Dylan was beaten for whatever reason under the sun, that the Boise Police Department would do nothing about it? Supposedly, this beating was so bad she has to have a kidney transplant, according to Justin. I am done with Justin. Justin needs to be sued. Justin needs to be charged. Justin needs to be forgotten. I don't think Justin realizes that a majority of the people following this case, believe it or not, or that follow true crime, not just this case, true crime, mainly are Gen Xers, okay? They're people born in the 70s, raised in the 80s. We pride ourselves in not giving a shit, okay? We were raised on little self-esteem. We would walk through grocery stores with our parents as they were smoking cigarettes, and we would pick up milk cartons with pictures of missing children on them. I don't think Justin understands. There's no conversation to be had. We truly just don't care. We just don't care. Nothing against you, Justin. We're just not going to sock away a few hours of our day to get to know you. And you making up these lies about Ethan, about Xana, about Dylan. Well, I tell you what, you're one lucky dude. You're one lucky dude, because if I pulled that shit, I'd either get a 3-day to check my mental status or I'd just get charges. Nothing against you, Justin, but the majority of people that follow true crime, we just don't care. It's nothing against you. It's nothing personal. We just don't care. I'm telling you, my generation, we pride ourselves on just not caring. We care about the things that matter. Don't get me wrong. If someone's picking on you, Justin, or something happens to you, we would care. Your day-to-day life, we don't care. Bernice said, because I do care about the internal locks in the house. I'm beating a dead horse here, I know. Bernice Rivera said, Brooks, the locks were old school, just the cheap stuff in each room. Look at old pictures of the house and the roommates. The one with Dylan's locks are normal in the bedrooms. I haven't seen a picture of the locks to Dylan's room. And I'm not concerned about the locks to Dylan's room because nobody got into Dylan's room to kill her. I'm mainly concerned about the lock to get into Madison's room. That's the one I'm really concerned about. It appears to me that Madison was the target. Kaylee went to check on Madison, and in the crossfire, Kaylee got killed. As Bushy was coming down the stairs to get the hell out of Dodge, Ethan and Xana were doing the same thing as Ethan and Xana were doing the same thing as Dylan. They were checking on what the commotion was about. Fight pursued into the bedroom. How Bushy took on two people, I'll never know. I'll never know. That's some crazy adrenaline he had going on, allegedly. He hightails it out of there. I don't need to know about Xana's locks. Xana's dad had fixed her lock. Now, there was a former tenant that had pictures from when he lived there before. He didn't live in the home at the same time as Xana, Maddie, Kaylee, Dylan, Bethany, and this other girl that we never talk about. I don't even know if she had moved in yet or not. His locks were the normal keypad locks. I shouldn't say normal. Normal for shared housing. I don't understand why one person, like this guy, would have a shared housing keypad lock, then you just have crappy bedroom locks on the rest of the house, like my bedroom. I don't need a high-powered lock. I don't need to keep anybody out. I don't get it. So what I'm really concerned about, and I'd love to know, Madison's room in particular, if she had a coded lock, how did he get in? She was found in bed. Or did she just have a regular bedroom lock and she didn't lock her door? What do you guys think? He got in her room somehow. I'm almost 99% convinced that it was all about Maddie. Frenchie and I are on the same page. Frenchie said, I think Maddie was asleep. Kaylee was in her room with Murphy. Kaylee heard a noise and went to check on Maddie, and that's when she was attacked. That's what I think too. Slim said, I just think she didn't lock it. Easy enough. So she didn't have a keypad, because the keypad locks, when you shut that door, they automatically lock. Now, if you're on the inside of the door, you can just turn the knob and walk out. So anyway, we're just going to assume that Maddie had a regular bedroom doorknob with just the little sliver lock on the other side, and Bushy, it was his lucky day because he didn't have to do much work, obviously, to get into that room. Now, this comment's really interesting to me, not that they all aren't. Abbey Road, cool name, by the way. I'm a Beatles fan. Said, has it occurred to you that Bethany wasn't there during the murders? I actually didn't think about it. I really didn't. The probable cause does not mention Bethany. Not that it has to. Not that it has to. Doesn't have to mention her at all. It only mentions Bethany as being an eyewitness, which is important, that she saw Xana and Ethan at the fraternity party. Now, the roommates say that Xana and Ethan, everybody was home by 2 a.m.? So Dylan hears this commotion. Kaylee heard a commotion. Mind you, she's on floor 3. It's safe to say Ethan and Xana heard a commotion. Bethany's on floor 1. I get it. I get it. I have a feeling she would have heard something. Even though I know the probable cause doesn't mention it, but it is definitely food for thought. She may not have even been there that night. She might have gone home, showered, changed her clothes, gone on to another party, gone to her boyfriend's house, went and stayed with another girlfriend. We don't know. I wouldn't be surprised. Wouldn't be surprised. Now, let's get to it. Beigefield and gang, they're all over it. All over it. Even with the gag order, mind you, they don't have to go through the gag order. They're getting the info out there. Sources deluxe. Sources with no names, sources with no faces. Now, this source not having a name or face, I get. Because who else except for law enforcement or the people at AT&T would know that Bushy had pictures of one of the female victims on his phone? Unless Bushy just had it totally wrong and went to the wrong room, I'm just going to guess the target was Madison. Now, this is going to make a lot of people mad. You ask why? There are some people, and in these cases, we get a few people that once their mind is made up, there's no changing it. Mind you, this isn't their family, this isn't their town, probably not even their state. But once the mind is made up, the Summer Wells case is the worst. Once their mind is made up, there's no changing it. And there are people, I'm telling you, they are not going to get off of Kaylee was the target. Kaylee was the target. Well, what are you going to do when in open court they say he had pictures all over his phone of Xana, or he had pictures all over his phone of Madison? Oh, Jamie said someone on another channel made mention of Banfield's attire. Well, that's pretty sad, Banfield, that everybody has noticed that you only wear beige. You only wear beige. Good morning, Pale Rider. All right, let's look at this. Now, not only did Bushy like all of Madison Mogen's pictures, so did Jennifer Coffindaffer. But Jennifer Coffindaffer, being the genius she is, liked all her pictures after a crime. She basically gave law enforcement more work to do. Because when someone is a victim of a crime, they go through their social media. And it is likely that people are murdered by someone that they know. So they've got to go through all those accounts. Freaking Coffindaffer, freaking idiot. All right, let's look at this.
Some additional reporting to add to this tonight. New and unique reporting that News Nation has discovered, and it has to do sources close to the investigation telling us that the person who is featured.
I love when Beigefield says this. Sources close to the investigation. Sources close to the investigation. I love that. That's my new catchphrase. That and thank you for the super sticker, Tarnia. Me love you long time, just like a secret source.
Featured on Brian Koberger's phone. The female victim who was featured on Brian Koberger's phone is the same person that he was reaching out to on social media. And also that the photos were not taken by Brian Koberger, they were downloaded off of that victim's Instagram. So he had taken the pictures from that victim's Instagram. And then I also have this reporting that Brian Koberger followed both Kaylee and Maddie on Instagram, but Koberger liked every one of Maddie's photos. Maddie's.
Well, nothing creepy about that. I'm sure he followed lots of people. But, ooh, dang, I had to adjust my chair, and now I feel like I'm sitting flat out on the ground. Hang on, I gotta adjust my chair. This is too weird. Now I'm like seriously on the ground. Dang it. Okay, that's a little better. So, his account, the one that he was using before he went to jail, because the account that was being used after he went to jail doesn't count. I know people are like, look, he liked it right there. I'm like, I know, but that account was made January 1st. He was in the jail. I think we've got it pretty much narrowed down. So he was following Kaylee and Madison. Okay. But he liked all of her pictures. Madison's. Jay Lord said the person leaving clues on Reddit said the same thing. Jake's mom said about Maddie not being at Thanksgiving word for word. That same person talked about Mad Greek. I believe Bushy ate at Mad Greek. I do. I understand where the owner of Mad Greek is coming from. I get it. I get it. It's like, look, I appreciate the new business, but I don't appreciate Brian Enton in my driveway. I don't need people calling here all the time asking for me to come on their YouTube panel. I don't need that type of business. So I get where the owner's coming from. Damage control. I get it. But I don't believe it. I believe he did eat there. I believe he was infatuated with Madison.
But Koberger liked every one of Maddie's photos. Maddie's on the right. Her best friend Kaylee's on the left. Koberger had liked all of Maddie's photos compared to liking just a couple of the ones on Kaylee's account. He followed both, but he liked all of Maddie's, and compared to liking just a couple of them on Kaylee's account. So that may give us a little bit more insight as to potentially who it was that he had downloaded and kept on his phone, which female victim's pictures were on his phone. Thank you.
That just really creeps me out. That really creeps me out. Good morning, True Crime with Shannon. That really creeps me out. I don't know why. So they're saying that he goes into... this chair is really pissing me off. Hang on. Okay, that might be all right. It's kind of like me and my chair and the height of it. It's like the porridge. It's got to be just right. That just creeps me out, dude. He probably followed her home from the Mad Greek, figured out where she lived. Jay Lord, the Mad Greek owner, could not tell you every person in the rest. Yeah. Yeah, when that all came out and people were like, Brooks, the owner said Bushy never ate there. And I'm like, look, the owner wouldn't know. The owner is ordering food for the restaurant. The owner is dealing with the health department. The owner is working on payroll. The owner has other things to do than to check on the customers. They'll do a walkthrough, don't get me wrong, but they're usually checking on their wait staff to make sure they're doing their job. They're ordering napkins. They're not checking to see how many times a week Bushy's eating their vegan pizza. Detective Pomeranian, I love that name. I used to have a Pomeranian named Gus. I think I told you about that before. That dog bit everybody, including me. Detective Pomeranian woke up to snow outside and it hasn't snowed there in 10 years. Where the hell are you that it hasn't snowed in 10 years? Are you in Vegas? Good morning, Birdie. I tell you what, this social media thing really is it's a scary monster. And I understand the people that are like, well, I've got nothing to hide. I'm not going to put anything on private. My business, my life's an open book. You don't want your life to be an open book. You don't need people seeing pictures of your kids and your grandkids and where you work. There are some sick ass people out there. I'm not calling the owner a liar. I'm not calling the owner a liar because I understand damage control. I get it. 100%. I get it. He ate there. He ate there. There's millions of people on Instagram. He didn't come across her on Instagram. He found her on Instagram. He wasn't just liking her pictures. He was taking the pictures and storing them in his phone. He was infatuated with her. Big time. He was infatuated with her. Let's go back a little bit to what they said about him at the Mad Greek. Because in retrospect, it's a little creepier now to me. Now, I'm going to let you know that I originally put this video up. I believe it was January 10th. Today is February 24th. If you look in our time machine, Ashley is still wearing beige. She never lets me down. Beige filled on the screen. Here we go.
Gag a lot of people, but the judge of the case, she can actually gag people who actually work for the court. Officers of the court, attorneys on the case, prosecutors on the case, attorneys for the families, attorneys who are tangential to the parties in this case, witnesses in this case, and a lot of people. So a tougher gag order was just issued in the last few hours, making it harder to get these details. Well, no matter. Steve Helling gets them anyway, and he joins me now. He is a senior reporter with People magazine, and he has a long history in doing crime and justice reporting, which is why he got this story. Steve, congratulations on your exclusive reporting. Really remarkable stuff. Walk me through what you found out.
Well, yes. I started speaking to, as you and I both did, we tried to reach as many people as we could who used to work at, the Mad Greek restaurant. And, very few people wanted to talk, but I did end up speaking to somebody who worked there until recently, who said that, yes, indeed, they did see Brian Koberger come there a couple of times, at least twice. And the only reason why he stood out was not because he was being creepy, not because he was doing anything weird, but he's such a strict vegan that he was requiring that he wanted to make sure that all of his food had not come in contact with animal product.
Of course he ate there. Of course he was being weird. He wasn't just there for the vegan pizza. He made a scene. He had to tell everyone. Marco, good morning. Marco said Beigefield is at it again. Yes, she is. Good morning, Fun to Ski. Of course he ate there. Jamie Lunas said, who saw him? These would be former employees, from what I'm understanding. Not everybody that worked at the Mad Greek when these horrific crimes happened wanted to continue working there. Quite a few people, from what I'm understanding, if I'm being told correctly, didn't go back. They weren't down with getting out of their car to walk in to get their tip money, split the tip jar, wait on people like Brian, and be followed in and out of work. They weren't down with that. They were like, nah, I'm good. But even though people that were there were sworn to secrecy, some have spoke and said, yeah, he ate there. He certainly did.
To somebody who worked there until recently, who said that, yes, indeed, they did see Brian Koberger come there a couple of times, at least twice. And the only reason why he stood out was not because he was being creepy, not because he was doing anything weird, but he's such a strict vegan that he was requiring that he wanted to make sure that all of his food had not come in contact with animal products. So that's why he stood out, because he had a special request with his order. And yes, he was there. We don't know who waited on him. We don't know if that's where he met, a couple of the victims, but we know that he at least went there to eat a couple of times.
And we know that Maddie and Xana Kernodle and Manny Bogan were both servers at that restaurant. We can also say this, Steve's work is particularly good because many of the folks who work at the Mad Greek restaurant have met together and agreed as a unit not to speak to the press. They've also been asked by the police not to speak to the press. So the person that you spoke with was somebody who is just outside of that circle, who had just worked there and clearly still had this intelligence, but wasn't sort of bound by that that codified agreement that they.
Why would the police? Why would they? Now the owner did put out a statement. And basically, they're not going to interfere. The investigation's going to go on without them speaking to social media, speaking to the media, fanning the flames. I get it. I respect it. That doesn't mean everybody feels that way. So what she's saying is this is somebody outside of that circle. But now I heard that people that didn't want to go there and work there anymore are the ones that said, yeah, he ate there. Why would the police tell the people that work there not to speak to the media? What would it matter? Unless it does matter, because his ass did eat there and he became infatuated with Madison. It wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter that Madison and Xana worked there. It wouldn't matter. It matters now to me because let's go through this. Madison worked there. The very first room he went into was Madison's. The sheath was left on Madison. He liked all of Madison's pictures. Gosh, it creeps me out.
They all had together. But here's what's interesting. I think it was an aunt or an uncle or maybe a couple of aunts of Brian Koberger who said many weeks ago that one of the strange personality traits that their nephew had was that he did not want to eat out of any pots that had once been used to even cook meat. So he had that tendency in the family in Pennsylvania that his vegan diet was so strict, he had to have new pots. They bought new pots and pans if he was going to be coming for dinner. So this kind of is in line with what this employee was telling you.
Yeah, I mean, things start lining up, and the more they line up, the clearer the picture gets. And so, yeah, that doesn't mean that he was doing anything weird at this restaurant. It just stood out. Just, anybody who's waited tables, I did it in college. I still remember people who stood out because they had strange things. And that's what happened here.
So I want to ask you about the messaging in just a moment, but I'm looking at your piece and I'm actually looking at the Reddit account at the same time that allegedly belongs to Brian Koberger. If you do a lot of the side-by-side comparison, one of the Reddit accounts called Inside Looking, many have pointed to the fact that this appears to be Brian Koberger, and that the person who goes under the handle Inside Looking insisted that M+X were the killer's targets. That would be Maddie and Xana, who both worked at the Mad Greek restaurant. So once again, the pieces start to line up. Yeah. Back to the Mad Greek. What was it that he was ordering there? Because you never know. There could be a small detail that speaks volumes.
He was a vegan, and they are one of very few restaurants in the area that serve vegan food. And from what everybody says, it's the best place if you're a vegan. So he was getting vegan pizza. He could order and customize the pizza that he wanted with vegan ingredients, and that's what he wanted, and that's why he went there.
Do we know at this point from your source whether Maddie and Xana had any contact with him? Were they servers for his table? Were they behind the counter when he ordered? Do we know if there was any actual connection made?
We don't know any specific connection, but if you've ever seen this restaurant, this isn't a huge restaurant. This isn't a cheesecake factory where there's a whole bunch of people around. So the chances are that there was some sort of at least incidental contact between them, or at least he would have noticed them.
He could certainly see them without question. Whether he stood out as a customer that was noteworthy, that's a whole other, other story.
All right, y'all. We have one. All right. I believe the source because it makes sense. Some of this stuff that comes out makes absolutely no sense. For some reason, there are some people that really want to throw shade at this reporter from People magazine. I'm sure that his sources over the years, because he's been doing this forever and a day, have maybe steered him the wrong way. This makes perfect sense to me, especially now that it's coming out that he had Madison's pictures in his phone. He might have followed Kaylee on Instagram, but he liked all of Madison's pictures. I had somebody that I accepted, this is totally a different scale, that I accepted on Facebook, and pictures that I forgot I had. I'm talking pictures from 2011. I was getting notifications that this person was liking those pictures. Well, that person didn't last 24 hours as a Facebook friend, okay? That creeped me the hell out. I was like, are you serious? That is pictures from a band concert of my child's. You weirdo. Jamie Luna said, why would a reputable reporter work for People? He doesn't work for People. He's not on staff for them, from what I'm understanding. He's an independent, so he gets the goods and sells it to the highest bidder. So he's kind of like paparazzi in a way. Anyway, his story makes sense. What's being told to him, it makes sense. That or this guy is just really, really good at making shit up. But it makes sense. Brian was eating at the Mad Greek. They have one vegan meal, and it's the vegan pizza, which means they have one pan in the restaurant that meat is not allowed anywhere near, because he was asking about the preparation. He wants to make sure no animal protein gets into his precious veins. All right? Now we go back to November 13th. The room that he went to. Good morning, mermaid. The room he went to was Madison's. The first victim, Madison. The sheath was left on Madison. I think the sheath was left there and he got into a hurry to get out because he was confronted by Kaylee as he came down the stairs. This is just what makes sense to me. As he comes down the stairs, we already know Dylan had been fanning her door. Ethan and Xana were wondering what the hell's going on too. And he gets into it with them. He kills them. Then he's out the door. I think it's really interesting, though. I mean, all of these months, and then we have to hear from the police, and I don't even know why they threw this out there. Why would they even throw this out there when they said it may not be a person in the house, it could be the house itself? That never made sense to me. Never. That's the word, J. Lord. Freelance. 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 All right, now this one, they go a little more in depth to it. I don't know why. It shouldn't shock me at this point, but it really does kind of freak me out. I mean, here's Madison's Instagram right here. Her very last picture was taken with Dylan. Her account is very, very, very open. Just like Kaylee's, just like Xana's, they have no safeguards on their social media. And I mean, I want to say, like, some of these pictures have like 50,000 likes on them. 50,000 likes. It's crazy. And you also have people in the comments, particularly if Dylan's in the picture, talking crazy shit about Dylan. And I get it. I get it. Because the 8 hours doesn't make any sense to me either. I wouldn't take it out on Maddie's Instagram, though. No. Maddie's Instagram, I wouldn't say anything about.
Got some breaking news to report to you regarding the Idaho murder case.
All right. I hate to correct Beishfield right off the bat. This isn't really breaking news. But If she wants to call it breaking news, tomato, tomato.
4 murdered students in Idaho. Brian Koberger in jail awaiting the next hearing in June, a gag order, making it very difficult to sort of put the pieces together in this very strange mystery. But we are learning something tonight about Brian Koberger and his predilections. On his phone, according to People magazine and News Nation's reporting as well, on Brian Koberger's phone, numerous pictures of one of the victims. I had a chance to talk with Steve Helling, who's investigative reporter.
I obviously did these in the wrong order. We know now from the secret sources who can't be named, don't have faces, but how else are they going to know? That's what I want to know. How do they know? I can't remember who it was. I think it was Bluebonnet that said, I think the secret source is Steve. And I was like, it could be Steve. Who would know? That the picture of the victim is Madison. J. Lord said, but she hated Dylan, remember? I know. That's what's really odd, that her last picture on her Instagram is of her and Dylan. It can't get stranger.
With People magazine about some of the findings regarding that piece of information, the fact that Koberger's phone had loads of pictures of one of the victims. This is our conversation earlier.
Loads of pictures. Okay.
So, somebody who's very familiar with the investigation says that after they arrested Brian Koberger, they took his phone, which of course is what you'd expect. And now that they've been looking at his phone, they have all of his communications. They have all of the things that you would have on your phone. And one of the things that they looked at were the pictures. And there are pictures of at least one of the victims in his photo roll. We don't know the details of those pictures. We don't know whether they are pictures he took from a distance. We don't know if they're pictures he downloaded from her social media, but he had pictures of one of the female victims on his phone.
And is anyone pointing to which one of the 3 female victims might be the one who's on his phone?
I mean, we all have our suspicions, and of course the cops certainly know, but that's not something that they're telling. There's a gag order in place. They can't tell us all these details. But yes, it was one of the 3 female victims, and cops sure know who they are. You and I could guess all day, and we'd probably guess correctly, but we don't have that officially.
And of course, without even being able to name them, it's hard to push further to suggest, is that person potentially the target of all of this? Like, was there one person who was the target and maybe the other 3 ended up as collateral? Are they saying anything about that?
Beigefield needs to take some vitamins. She needs to get some sleep. Maybe a change in wardrobe would help her. Of course, a picture of one of the victims is a big deal. And of course, the other people that were killed as he was going towards his target got in the way. Let's go through this again. I don't know how this guy is answering this with a straight face. Okay, who said that? Hang on. This is important too. Christina, same. Christina says, I have pictures and screenshots of them on my phone. I do too. Julie says she's wearing white instead of beige. It still looks beige to me, Julie. I can't really say anything. Most everything in my wardrobe is a neutral color, but I mean neutral as in I got black, I got white, red. I've got a lot of red. What do I have on today? I got red. I have some beige in there. I'm not really a bright person, but I got more than just one color. So let's look at this again because this is such a dumbass thing to say.
One of the 3 female victims, and cops sure know who they are. You and I could guess all day, and we'd probably guess correctly, but we don't have that officially.
And of course, without even being able to name them, it's hard to push further to suggest, is that person potentially the target of all of this? Like, was there one person who was the target and maybe the other three ended up as collateral? Are they saying anything about that?
Well, I'm going to answer this for Beigefield. He wouldn't have pictures on his phone of someone who wouldn't be the target. His obsession obviously would be cataloged in his phone. Madison is a stranger to him, as far as we know. God only knows what's going to come out. I can't get over this line of questioning.
Well, before the second gag order came along, we were getting, you were getting it, I was getting it, we were getting these tips. And, I think that they had a pretty good idea, even back then, a month ago, of who the primary target was. Whether or not these pictures are of that person, who you and I both pretty much know, is remains to be seen.
So what else did they get, or are you able to find out about from, combing his photo rolls? Was there any other clue in there?
No, but it certainly seems as though he was, he was very aware of what was going on in this house. We know that. Obviously, besides the photos, we already know that his.
Okay, right here, I'm going to have to disagree with the freelance reporter talking to Beigefield that gave this information or sold it to People magazine. He said he's very well aware of what was going on in the house. I don't think he was that aware. Why would he go into a house where you've got all these people in your way? Jamie said if he liked her, if he's in love with her, whatever, obsessed with her, why kill her? Well, in cases like this, do you guys remember that show, My Sister Sam? Had Pam Dauber on it, and I can't remember the girl's name in real life. Anyway, there was a guy that was obsessed with her. And when he realized he didn't have a shot in hell with her, he went to her door. She answered the door. This is back when we had the white pages and the yellow pages. You know what I mean? And he killed her. He killed her. But nobody else was around. She didn't have any roommates. So when Steve here says he knew the house well, he might know the layout of the house. But the goings on he picked the wrong night for sure. Okay, Magoo said Rebecca Schaefer. Thank you, Magoo. And Chloe, thank you for the super sticker. Yes, Rebecca Schaefer, thank you. Okay, so seems to me that he might have, I'm going to go ahead and guess here, that when the direct messages were being sent to one of the victims, I think Maddie's our girl. I think he was direct messaging her. The pictures in his phone are Madison. I hate to disagree with the owner of the Mad Greek, but I have a feeling he ate there.
Rolls. Was there any other clue in there?
No, but it certainly seems as though he was, he was very aware of what was going on in this house. We know that. Obviously, besides the photos, we already know that his phone just kept pinging from that area. So, he'd been there several times. So I think the phone is going to be a real treasure trove of information for the investigators, not just from the pictures, not just from, we don't know the texts he sent. We do know, as we talked about a few weeks ago, that he had reached out to one of the girls on Instagram. So, there's going to be a lot of tracks there that they can look at, and, tracks that I don't think that he covered.
There's one line in your exclusive where your source says it looked as though Koberger was certainly, quote, paying attention to her. Were you able to read into that any further?
I think paying attention means something more than just noticing somebody. Paying attention means that you are, purposefully and very deliberately, keeping track of somebody, keeping track of who they are, what they're doing, that type of thing. So there was.
All right, I'm going to help him with this. Paying attention to someone that wouldn't piss on you if you were on fire is called creepy. Paying attention to someone who doesn't even know you're alive is creepy. It's weird. All right, we have our celebrities, our actors and actresses, and we love their movies and stuff like that. That's a little different. I think his obsession was a little much. A little much. I think we can all agree on that. Just Me said, but 4 were killed. Why 4? Honestly, my guess is he went to floor 3, got into Madison's room. I give up on the locks. I'm just going to say she didn't lock her room that night. He gets in there. He starts to kill her. Kaylee is in the next room. Kaylee can hear what's going on. Kaylee goes to find out what's going on. He kills Kaylee. Steve did mention that the wounds are not the same. Kaylee's are more brutal. Well, when you fight back, yours are going to be more brutal. If you're laying in your bed unsuspecting, you're not going to have that brutal of wounds. Really, really bad ones, but not like that because Kaylee was fighting him. Then he goes down the stairs. Ethan and Xana are like, what the hell's going on up there? He kills them. Then he gets the hell out of there. The question's always going to be, with Dylan in the house on floor 2, fanning the door, opening, telling everyone to shut up, opening it again, what the hell's going on? It's like Fine Art on Fire said, look at this in order. I have to go find my notes. If you say it in order, it sounds really crazy. When it says in the probable cause, she hears this going on, she opens her door. She hears someone say, I'm here to help you. Then she sees a guy with a mask all dressed in black, and she assumes it's just a party. I don't think she assumed that. I don't. I still don't know why 911 wasn't called. I don't believe she was shocked. Shocked, frozen phase is not going into shock. He went into Madison's bedroom. I mean, I think Madison was the target. I think everybody else just came across his path. That's what it seems to me right now.
Are, purposefully and very deliberately, keeping track of somebody, keeping track of who they are, what they're doing, that type of thing. So there was somebody who was on his radar for a while. And that person, that girl was unfortunately one of the victims.
All this time we've been trying to figure out the nexus between, this alleged killer and these victims. And the only connection that so far can really be made is the fact that he's a vegan. Mm-hmm. And Xana and Maddie both worked at the Mad Greek, which is one of the best vegan, restaurants in that area of both Pullman and Moscow. So from what I've heard from my sources in Pullman, if you're a vegan in Pullman, you have been to the Mad Greek many times. It is one of your go-to places. Do we know if there's any connection?
No one told her ass that. Nobody told her that.
To the 2 victims who worked at the Mad Greek, Xana and Maddie, and this photograph?
Sure. Well, what I would say is that, we reported about a month ago that he had been to the Mad Greek, and then the Mad Greek came out with a statement that basically said, somebody is trying to cash in on 15 minutes of fame, I think referring to the former employee who had given that information up.
All right, the 15 minutes of fame, that was the first thing a lot of people said. Someone's just trying to get their 15 minutes of fame. Oh, they just want their 15 minutes of fame. They didn't use their name. They didn't do like Justin and make a bunch of bullshit up and start panel hopping and putting crazy things on Facebook. This person didn't want to be named. This person didn't want to be, some people didn't want their 15 minutes of fame. And also remember that the people that work at the Mad Greek, 95% of them are students. Some of these people, after the murders, went home. They were very short-staffed. They didn't have anybody.
But they never, ever denied for sure that he was there. They just said somebody is trying to cash in on some fame here. So, I think that we can pretty much surmise that, the restaurant, the phone, all of this type of stuff is something that police have looked into very, very carefully to make sure that they understand kind of the timeline of how did these girls, or at least how did one of these girls, get onto Brian Kohberger's radar? And he did somehow, or she did somehow he found her and targeted her allegedly. And so that was really, what the cops are looking at right now.
And then just one more clarity on your exclusive, and it's pictures plural, right? It's not just one picture. He had pictures plural of at least one victim.
Right. Then that could be 2. That could be 450. We don't know. We just know it's more than 1. You can have a picture of somebody on your phone and not be fixated on that person. But more than 1 certainly means that, whether or not he took more than 1,
Well, I get what he's saying. If he's saying, like, if he just had one picture of Madison, that doesn't necessarily mean he's fixated on her. No, to me, it does. Now, mind you, he had multiple pictures of Madison on his phone. One is creepy enough because he doesn't know her. He doesn't know her. He shouldn't even have one. Divided We Fall said, telling everyone, by the way, great name. Telling everyone to shut up would have prompted the killer, too, to be alert that she was up and potentially be killed, too. That's what I said when I heard she was screaming to shut up. Then it was pointed out to me he might have thought the girl yelling to shut up, was Xana. Hello, Kaleidohope.
I'm the worst. When I take pictures of my food, I take 4 pictures of it. So, it could have been something like that, or it could be that he downloaded things from her Instagram or screenshotted things from her Instagram. So
yeah, that's the other thing, right? Because we don't know if it's downloaded or if they were actually snapped on his phone. There's no way to tell between that. Well, at least they're not telling us. They would know.
They're not telling us, but they certainly know, because every picture you take, it tells, you can figure out exactly where a picture was taken, when it was taken, all of that. And people who know a lot more about computers than I do can figure that out. So you better believe that the cops are doing that.
Thank you for watching. Go to News.
Peppermint Tea said, I think Maddie was the target. I think Kaylee interrupted him and he was mad at her. So she got it worse. To be honest, if he wasn't interrupted, what was his intentions? I think if he wasn't interrupted by Kaylee, I really do. No offense to Kaylee. Kaylee was being a good friend. I think he would have killed Madison and been out. Why he picked that night, I don't know. Some people say it's the same night as it's the anniversary of Amityville. That could be. That could be. I don't know. The way that the judge read out the names indicates that Madison was the first killed. According to the probable cause, they don't give a death order in the probable cause, but it appears that Madison was killed first. The sheath was left on Madison. Kaylee was in the bed because I believe Kaylee went to check on her friend. It doesn't say they were both tucked in, heads on pillow. I mean, it's a twin bed. It's a twin bed. It's for one person. Not saying that 2 people can't get in there. I'm going to look at how the judge read it again. Hang on.
Brian C. Koberger, on or about November 13th, 2022, in Lake County, state of Idaho, did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation, and with malice aforethought, kill and murder Madison Mogan, a human being, by stabbing Madison Mogan, from which she died, in violation of Idaho Code 18-4001, 4002, 4003, and 4004. The maximum penalty for this offense, if you were to plead guilty or be found guilty, is death or imprisonment for life. Do you understand?
Yes.
Count 3 alleges that you committed the felony offense of murder in the first degree. It alleges that the defendant, Brian C. Koberger, on or about November 13th of 2022 in Lake County, state of Idaho, did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation, and with malice aforethought, kill and murder Kaylee Gonsalves, a human being, by stabbing Kaylee Gonsalves, from which she died, in violation of Idaho Code 18-4001, 4002, 4003, 4004. Again, the maximum penalty for that offense, if you plead guilty or are found guilty, is death and or imprisonment for life. Do you understand?
Yes.
Count 4 alleges that you committed the felony offense of murder in the first degree. It alleges that the defendant, Brian C. Koberger, on or about November 13th of 2022 in Lake County, Idaho, did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation, and with malice aforethought, kill and murder Xana Kernodle, a human being, by stabbing Xana Kernodle, from which she died, in violation of Idaho Code 18-4001, 4002, 4003, and 4004. Again, the maximum penalty for that offense, if you plead guilty or are found guilty, is up to death and or imprisonment for life. Do you understand?
Yes.
Count 5 alleges that you committed the felony offense of murder in the first degree. It alleges that the defendant, Brian C. Koberger, on or about November 13th of 2022 in Lake County, state of Idaho, did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation, and with malice aforethought, kill and murder Ethan Chapin, a human being, by stabbing Ethan Chapin, from which he died, in violation of Idaho Codes 18-4001, 4002, 4003, and 4004. And again, the maximum penalty for this offense, if you plead guilty or are found guilty, is up to death and imprisonment for life.
I think the way that the judge reads it, just because it's how they do it here, I know every state's different, every judge is different, is the order of death. So, just me putting it together. Madison was the first killed. Madison worked at the Mad Greek. Bushy ate at the Mad Greek. The sheath was found on Madison. But coincidence theorist here says, I'm pretty sure Brian was never in the house. Coincidence theorist isn't the only one that thinks that. There's other people that are saying, look, they didn't say that the footprint was his. Dylan seeing a guy with bushy eyebrows doesn't make it him. That sheath didn't how do we know that sheath even came off that knife? I get it. Jim said, I think Kaylee was in her own room with Murphy and heard something and went to check on Maddie. I do too. Definitely. Pamela says sheath was found next to her, not on her, right? It was found next to her. And Jeannie, see? DT Driver thinks that Bushy has to have an accomplice, one way or another. Like Jeannie said, I still can't get over how fast he was able to kill 4 people in less than 20 minutes. I can't get over it either. I know some people say, oh, it could be roid rage. Bushy doesn't look to me like he's on roids. Or it could be a heroin rage. I don't know anything about heroin. What I have seen of people that are on it, they don't really look like, they're real hopped up. Adrenaline would make more sense to me. Jamie said, remember, she said she thought Kaylee was playing with the dog. Yeah, because Dylan said she woke up at 4 a.m. because she heard the dog barking. Now, for a month and a half, we had been hearing that this dog doesn't bark and that Dylan and Bethany slept through everything. They don't know anything. Then we find out they know a lot more than nothing. A lot more than nothing. Hell, Bethany, they were going back and forth for like 2 weeks saying, we're trying to size together the evening of November 12th to find out where Xana and Ethan were. Here comes the probable cause, and they're like, oh, Bethany saw him. Shit. It's the craziest thing. Now, I think, not tomorrow. Tomorrow's Saturday. Phew. What a week. Next week, we're going to go through the probable cause from top to bottom all over again with different eyes on it. Because we have all these unnamed sources, crazy people from Chicago saying that Dylan got the hell beat out of her a couple of weeks ago. We got a lot of crazy stuff going on. So we're going to go back through the probable cause top to bottom. I'm going to bring John on with me. He's the lawyer that's working on the Alana Rathfield case. He's really good at bringing this stuff up. He can tell us from the other side. We'll just have a conversation. Let me put it that way. You're going to do a deep dive on the probable cause. A deep dive. All right, guys, speaking of deep dive, that's all I got for today. For this case, anyway. So in about, 5 minutes, Alex Murdaugh is on the stand again in his own defense, which is the only reason I'm streaming it, but we're going to have a watch party to see what all he has to say. It's very rare that someone takes the stand in their own defense, and it's pretty damn crazy what's going on. So thank you for coming in here extra early today to talk about Idaho and Bushy's obsession with it. Seems to be it was Madison. So come on over. Let's have a watch party. If I miss you at the watch party, then I'll see you back here Monday morning at 9 a.m. You guys are the absolute best.